Hello everyone. Today in this video what we are going to talk about Azure Data Factory scenario. So I want to process and load files sequentially from Azure Blob Storage using date and time that is present in the file names. Or you can read this how to extract date and time from blob file names and load them sequentially into Azure SQL table. So this is a very common scenario where when we have some files, let me show you the list of the files and we will go from there. So here's my blob storage and I want to build the scenario here, then you would understand and we will go further like what we are going to do here. So if I go to containers here in the input, I have this customer file, and customer file has a date. So you see that 2025 03 10 and then it has time. So hour, minute and second, that's the time, and then it has a region. So then we have next file sitting there, that's on 2025 03 11, and then we have time for that day. So then we have for day 12, day 13, and then we have two files actually for day 13, and but this is the first file and this is the second file. So this is like 5 o'clock and this is like 7 o'clock file. So what I want to do, I want to load these files and they come, I don't know, sometime I get all of them in different for different days or maybe even years, and then my goal is to process them one by one. I want to start with the oldest file. So in this case this is the oldest file. So this was created on March 10, and then we want to process March 11, 12, 13, and if we have all the way, whatever the dates you have. Or you can do other way around as well. Let's say you want to load the latest first and then go backwards. That's also possible. I will show you both scenarios will be covered in this. Okay, now let's go back to our scenario and see. One more thing I want to show you before we go back to the our notepad. If we go to edit here, so you see that the file 10 on the day 10, I have the ID because 1 2 3. Okay, and in the next I kept the IDs increasing with the multiply of 10. So if you see that I have ID 10 20 30, and then I have these files, this is 100, and then goes from there 100 200 300 and all that. So this file has, the last one is like 10,000 10,000 20,000 30,000. Just I changed IDs. So when we load these files, you would know that, like, hey, guess what, the date for the file 2025 03 10 that has IDs 1 2 3, and then all those the latest one has the bigger IDs for that customer. And also this file has customer ID name, like first name, last name and salary. So I didn't change those values, but I just changed ID to kind of make sense when you load the data and visualize the data. Okay, so what we are going to do here, first of all, we are going to read the file names from the blob storage and insert into the file name table. And then we are going to parse the file names to get the date and time. This is important because I was trying to find like if I can do another way. There could be another way, but for me it is easy. I have done in SSIS the same way, so I felt like, okay, I'm going to follow the same thing in Azure Data Factory. Read all file names, put into a table, and then use the SQL statement to parse it and get the date and time. Then I use that query that returns the file name, date and time, and then I gave to the for each loop to process one at a time in sequence the way I want. And then finally we load that all the customer data to the table, and also we mark the load file status in files name table to the yes. So we will not reload those files if they come back again, somebody dropped them accidentally. Now let's go and take a look on our Azure Data Factory pipeline. So you understand the files, we have the files, and before I go to the files, I'm going to show you the definition of the tables. So here is my definition for a file list table. I have ID, identity, and then I have a file name that's going to be full name of that file, and load status. So only 3 columns. Then as of now I don't have much in this table. I have no, actually I do have. I was testing. So you see that we have IDs, these are just identity, then we have file names loaded to it, and then I process them, so they are yes yes. Okay, let's truncate this table so there would be no record in this table. Then we have customer table that has I created identity column, so you would know that when we load the data, so you understand like which sequence the files are loaded or records are loaded. Also I added the load date time that will also help you to see which file got loaded first, so it is just for your confirmation. You really don't need these two columns, and but I just want to show you it is working, and our scenario that we are putting together is working. That's why I put this, and this will help me to show you. And the actual columns are customer ID, file, first name, last name, salary, and then file name. We would like to put the file name in the customer table as well, so we would know that these are the records loaded from this file. Okay, now if I run this query now, I don't know if I have records. Yes, we do. Okay, so I was testing the scenario where I was doing date and time descending. So you see that the oldest file got loaded first, and you can see from the IDs too, these are the oldest file we have on March 13. See right there, and that you can see the date and time here. This is the time it was loaded. So this got loaded, and then we have 33. So this was first loaded on 32, then we have minute 33, and then the time changes. So then these records are loaded. So these were loaded just fine in the sequence that we wanted to do it. So in this case we did this first file was the newest file, that was the March 13, and then we went back all the way to March 10. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and truncate this table as well. So we will do some testing and show you. Okay, we are all good here now, and let's go to our pipeline, and I will show you from there. So very first activity we are using here is called the get metadata. This activity, what it is going to do, it is going to get the list of the files from our blob storage. So if you see right there, we have I have set up this. Once I use the get metadata, I went to setting, and here I made the data set. So if I open it, it's using this link service. So if you go and edit, it's not really anything really. You just create a link service to the blob storage. That's exactly I did. And then once you have the blob storage, you will provide the blob storage here. It will create that data set for you. Now it is pointing to that container. So if you see right there, I already showed you actually. So you see right there, I told, like, once I had this in the settings, I said, okay, use this blob storage, and the file path is in from the input container. So this is my input container right there. So there are a lot of videos I made in which how to create the link service and all that you can see from there. So not a big deal. So you provide get metadata activity, and then create a data set, and then here in the arguments, so you will choose child items, because we want to get all those items from the input container. Now once you have that, so if I go and execute this one, I can execute actually all together. So let me first explain, and then we will do that. Now I provided this list or child items to the for each. So once I go to for each, it's activated, and then I go to setting, and here I first of all I did in sequential. I don't want just log everything to the table here. I just want to do them one at a time. So that's why I have a sequential. And in the items, if you see that, remember that we have get metadata. That's our activity, right? So get metadata activity dot output dot child items. So we are getting all these child items for our for each loop. It's going to loop through all these child items, and then it is going to save the values, for the file name. So inside this I use this script task. So you can open from here as well, and here is a script task. What I'm doing in the script task or script activity, I use the script task like SSIS, but anyway, script activity. So here you go to the settings, and here I made the connection or to the links. I use the link service to my TechDB, that is my Azure database, and that's where I just made this link service. And then from there, in the script, if you look right here, it's very simple query. So I have a query that's an insert into file table, file list table, and then which column, the file name, value is equal to item dot name. So remember that our get metadata data activity is giving us the child items, and when inside the for each loop we go there, we use select this, and then in the it comes the item, and then I want the name of that. So we can cancel this out, and let's go back. So if I go back to the pipeline again, now let's disable and run this part only so you would understand. I'm gonna just deactivate this and also deactivate this. So right now our pipeline is going to get the list of the files, use the for each loop, and then write to the file name table all those files. So let's execute now. Okay, great. So get metadata activity is complete. Let's click on this arrow here, and this is output, and you can see right there, so child items, and see this is exactly I want to get. So these are the name, and when I looked into for each loop, I said that item dot name, that's exactly the name I'm using it here. So our files are here, so these are all the child items that we got in the get metadata, and then in the for each we are using that item dot name to get the file name. So if you go further right there, here in the for each, this is telling you there are 5 items. Yes, we have 5 files, and then if I go to script here, it is telling me like, okay, it used that script, and then it completed successfully. So great, it's completing for each of the file, and as we are running in sequential. Now if I go back here into my database, and let's execute. So if we run this select start from file, what's going to happen is it's going to have these ID, this is auto increment, and then just the file name, because we read the file names and just put into this file list table. We didn't even update the load status or anything yet, because that's the next process. Now we have the files here. Let's go back to the Azure Data Factory and see what exactly it will do. Next, we use the lookup. Okay, in the lookup, what we have here, if I go to settings here, and in the setting I use the data set, use the same link service, if you see that, because I'm making to the connection to this customer table right there. Okay, and in the customer table, if I go back here, now here is my query. So instead of actually using the table, I'm using the query here. Okay, so you can see this query, I'm using it here, but you can you have made the connection here, so you can simply ignore it because it's not really using table. But anyways, you can use this, you will use the link service. If you want to provide this, if it give you error like, hey, I cannot run without any table, just provide that table. But honestly, we are not using table here. Okay, now what happened, close and discard changes. Okay, fine. And here is select the query, and let me show you the query that we are using here. So remember that we have a file name table here, and sorry, file list table, and that's what we are using. And I use this query to get the file name and also get the date and time. But I am not really using these. Okay, I have the where clause here. Get me only one where is not equal to yes. That we can actually change. We say where is null. Okay, because we need to get those which have not. Okay, now we are getting all those file names, and see right there, these are the file names. Then it is getting the date from the file name, and then it's getting the time, and then I use the order by here, and that's ascending order. So you see that the March 10, 11, 30, 12, 13 comes, and then also the time is ascending as well. So we can copy this, go back to our activity here, and it's a lookup. So it's going to get us all these 3 things. You really don't need these 2 column, but I'm just keeping it there. You could have, otherwise you have to write the same expression here in the where clause, order by clause. Actually you have to do that. So I've just kept up, and then after creating these columns here, I'm using them here in the order by. So that's, it's going to give me the sorted file names. Now I can enable it, and this lookup, what this lookup activate right now, we can disable these 2, if we want. So because we already have the file names in the table, and lookup is going to read those file names. As we said, that is going to use first of all, you're going to go to settings, and here you're going to have the query pasted. That will give you the file names, and in order, whichever the order you want, ascending or descending. In my case, we are doing ascending for now. I will do the descending at the end as well. Then you will go to the for each loop. In the for each loop, what you are going to do, you're going to go to this settings again, and here also you want to do sequential. You don't want to do all the item together, because we want to process one file at a time in the sequencer. And here in the items, you will say lookup dot output dot value. Okay, so we are going to get that. Once we are going to get the lookup output dot value, from there inside this for each loop, I have couple of activities. One is script task again. That is we are going to go back and update the table. So you see that I'm updating update file list, set load status equal to yes, where file name is equal to item dot file name, right? Because we have the file name returning from our query, and in items lookup have those all those items, and then we are using the file name out of it. And in these this will be providing file name, and then it will update the file list table for each of the file. Is going to happen every time. It's going to loop through. Then I use the copy activity. In this source, if you see right there, I have created this data set. If I open this data set, in this data set, I use the same blob storage that I created for the blob storage. My container is this, and here I created this parameter. So if you go right there, so I said p file name. Okay, so p file name is created because this p file name I created here, and then use here in the connection, because I have to change the file name on each of the loop. So that's why I did that. And here I came back to the source again, and then once I had this parameter, it popped up here, so I need to provide the value. So I use the same item dot file name here, and that will populate the file name. So I can use this parameter value in the dynamically reading of each file at a time. So when the file name will, first file name come, it will go to input backslash this whatever the file name it will be in that parameter. Okay, then it will go for next and next and next. If I go to sync here, I'm doing insert, and if you open this data set, and here I have a schema, and then so the schema of the table is, you can see right there, it's the same schema of the destination table. And here let me show you one thing. I want to go to mapping here. Okay, this is important part. So customer ID, that I changed from the file ID. There was the ID in the file, so I changed to the customer ID, first name, last name, salary, and here that's I added a column here. Okay, so remember that we have this file name, so we use that one and map to the file name in the table. If you want to add like a new mapping, you can go right there inside the mapping. You can use all those mappings from here as well. Okay, so as we have already the file name parameter, let me show you how did I create the file name here. Okay, that's important. Okay, if I go to the source here and go down all the way, and it's an additional columns. So I created an additional column. In that additional column, I said, okay, file name is equal to @item dot file name. This is the same file name on each of the iteration it's going to get. So it will be also inserted into the table with the data at the time of when it's going to read the from source and then write to the destination. So that's all steps we did here. Okay, and I have these all videos in detail, create link services, create parameters and everything. That's why I'm not creating the whole thing. I'm just kind of explaining to you how it is going to work. Now if I execute this, now let's activate this, and we can go ahead and run it. Or we can actually run the whole thing. So now I'm going to activate this, and then now we will go back here, and let's truncate this table. So there is a data in the file table, so we are just gonna file list table truncate. Okay, and one more thing I wanted to do in the lookup, I want to see if my query is correct. So if I come here, because remember that it should be null. Yeah, this is good, because before that I had the status where is equal to yes, and that's not equal to null. So we are looking for anything, any files list in the table which are null, and that's what it get updated. Okay, great. Now we are gonna run. So our get metadata activity is going to get the list of the files from the blob storage. Then it's going to provide to the loop, for each loop. For each loop is going to give one file at a time to the script task, and then it's going to write to the file table. So once the file table has all the records, then we are going to use that query for select query that's going to return us file name, date, time, and then we give those ordered file list to the for each loop. That's gonna first script task is gonna update the file list tables for status like loaded, and then the copy activity is gonna load the data to the customer table. So this is happening right now. So if you see right now, if I go back and check my file list table, and you see that it is reading one file at a time. It's reading file names. So right now we are not reading the data. So get metadata activity has read all the file names, and they are in the children item, and now it's looping through and writing it to the this table. So for each loop is doing that. So 4 files are file names are written. This is the 5th one. Okay, so for each loop is looping through each file name, and that's done. Now what's happening? Now lookup is going to run, and lookup is going to run what? Is going to run this query that we have, this query. Okay, and now if you run this query, it's going to return us the file name, date, and time. And now it's already in ascending order. So you see that 10 is first, 11, 13, 14, 13, 13, and then also the time. So then it will load according to the time stamps. Now if I go back to the here, so lookup has gotten all the results depending upon the time, and now what's going to happen is it has provided that to the for each loop, and for each loop has 2 tasks. One is a script task inside, and other is a copy activity. So if you look at the script task right now, it has done for one file. If I go back here and we check the file table, what's going to happen? We should see at least one record where it says loaded is equal to yes. Okay, so yes, this is the first file it is loading. So 310, yeah, March 10. And now if I go to the customer table, and it should be loaded the data. So you see that it's the customer ID 123. And if you remember that, like as the file date increases, I also increases the IDs in those files. So just for my testing purpose. So if I run it again, now it will process the second file. So you see that the first file was for March 10. Now it's processing March 11, and then you can see the time too. So time is also changed, the load time. This is not really helpful at the moment. You might say like, why this guy is crazy having load time here, when he's also can see from here and see from here. This will become relevant here when you have this one multiple file for the same date, and you also like, okay, are they loaded in sequence if they are for the same day? So that's where we are going to see at the end. Now you see that the third file is loaded, and here you can see that's for the March 12, and the time was this was this load time, so it is increasing. So we can see from here, see minute 34, but it's increasing the time here. Okay, if I go back to my Azure Data Factory, so it is loading one at a time. So if I want to see, you can see from here file read, records, and all those peak connections and everything. Now that should be done quickly. We have a very few files left, actually only one. Okay, great. Now if I go back here and select the data from customer, we should have all 5 files. So you see that this is the last file that was on 13th, and this is also on March 13th, but this is the file that was created at 5 p.m. This is a file created at 9 p.m. So sorry, 7 p.m. So this is loaded at the end. You can see from the load time, this is the last file that is loaded in the table. Great. Now if I go back to the Azure Data Factory and pipeline is completed successfully, if I want to see some things from here, like some stats or whatever I want to see, I can also see which file is loaded, or and all that is there as well. Now there are two things. Let me go back. Now file table, all the columns are marked as yes now. See right there, so they're marked as yes. So that's good thing, and this is how you can actually kind of track it. You can also have load time and all those kind of things here as well if you want, but this is very helpful. Now let's truncate these tables again, and now in this case, if you notice, I want to show you customer again. So customer table has the file which start loading from March 10 and 11, 12 and 13, right? Now if I will do descending order, so I want to do, let's say, the 13 first. I want to load the latest this file first and then go upward, that I can go as well. So no problem at all. So we will truncate the table, and then I'm going to also truncate this file list table, and now I'm going to go make a small change in my Azure Data Factory query. So here I can actually show you query here. So let me show you first. So this is the query that gives us the order, okay? And this query might actually work with you according to your. In my case, this was very simple. Like you have a file name and then date and time. Maybe in your case it will be a little complex the way file names are, So right now there is no file actually we delete, but I'm gonna order by descending now. So that's all I'm doing here, by time and date and time. Okay, so let's take this again, paste here, all good, and we are going to debug. It's going to rerun the entire pipeline again and load the file names first. Get metadata, get the files for each loop, get each file, script as, load into the file table. Once the files are loaded, this query is going to sort them or order them the way we want to load them to the SQL table, and then provide to the for each loop, and then it's going to mark each file into the file list table as the status completed, and then it's going to copy that file from the blob storage to the Azure SQL DB. So let this run. Okay, get metadata got all the files, for each loop is working. So now we should see some records into our file list table. Okay, so we will see them. Okay, all the 5 files are there. So you see that as of now there isn't any order we have put. It automatically picked whatever the order. We are gonna use the lookup to order them the way we want to process them. So now lookup got the list of the files, and now it's gonna provide that list to the for each, and for each loop is gonna start working on it. Now if I go back here, and you see that if I run the same query again, if it is the processing, which file it is processing, see it started with the latest file, because we did the date and time descending now. So it is processing this one right now. And if I go back to the customer table, I should see those large size IDs. See, these are my large size IDs with the latest files. And also I have this file, you can see from there, this is March 13th. And then we have the 7 p.m. file first loaded right here. Now the next file should be coming this on the March 13 again, but the time should be 5:35 or something. So we have 2 files for that day. So here, okay, so you see that now we have the second file loaded, and that's on March 13 as well, and 5:35, and you can see the order in which these files are getting loaded. So first this one got loaded, and then the second one, and then it keep going from 13, 4, 12, 11 and 10. So that's how it will do. What I will do now, we have proven our point, our logic work the way we explain it, it works. And next thing what I will do, I will take this script and provide you. I don't know if I will just create a JSON file for the pipeline and give you in the script, that's going to help or not. So, but maybe I can do that as well. So I will see. I'm gonna try to throw that in the scripts in somewhere so you can use it. But video has all the steps and you know, these queries. I'm gonna provide you all the queries, how to create a table, you know, how to have this select query and all that in the video description. So that's gonna help you for sure. So now if we check our customer table, it should have all the data. Okay, great. So it has loaded all the files, and you see that the last file it loaded is the March 10th. So that's the last file it loaded. I thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel, and if you guys have any question, please let me know.